Hello, and welcome back to Visiting Dugout, a Fans First Sports Network production. I am Crystal O'Keefe. Today I have Charles on to talk about the Pirates. Charles, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Charles Starr. I'm a Pirates fan from Queens, living in Brooklyn. I don't make a ton of sense. I am also one of the co-hosts of the A Lab series podcast, which is a law/comedy podcast. All lawyers are bastards, and during football season, I have a Saints podcast with El Ron Mexico called City Saint Country Saint. Like I said, very strange guy.
Yeah, you're all over
Uh,
the place with these things.
yeah, that's it. So huge baseball fan for a long time, going back. Uh, Early good memories of We Are Family, college trauma response to Sid Bream. The whole nine.
Awesome. Well, what is new with this Pirates team? Because I mentioned it right as we were about to record, there's been a lot of really fun news coming out of, you know,
Yeah, I
Pirates right now.
Yeah, it's funny. I am part of a small, Pirates cohort that is allergic to the word fun because it is a word you use for a team that is still losing, right? When a team is winning, you say they're good. When a team is losing, anything good happens, you say they're fun. So we're a
Mhm.
little allergic to fun, but Paul Skenes is fun to watch, right? He hits the corners at 100 miles an hour. He there was talk that he didn't have the other pitches to make his fastball play, and that's ridiculous. He throws everything else for strikes and he plays the fastball off of it, and he's come out gangbusters, right? They won, his first start, they only had him throw 5 innings, and people were like, oh no, they're babying him. And then they got over that really fast. And he's been awesome. And Reynolds traditionally starts really slow and then has a great June, which inflates his numbers. But he's been really solid all, through the year. So he's been great. Jared Jones has, came out great as another rookie. He's sliding a little, getting a little bit of that uneven rookie stuff, and I don't think, this isn't magic, but he doesn't have Skenes' stuff, so his ceiling is not like that. But he's been really good. Keller's been great. Falter, he's hurt now, but has been a reliable number four. We've gotten much better results out of like a inconsistent, um, uh, you know, committee fifth starter, bullpen game kind of situation. So like our rotation has been surprisingly good, but we can't score runs. Like it's super frustrating that we just get no runs way too much of the time. And so for all of the, surprising and really great pitching performances, we just, we watch innings at a time where we'll get, the like strikeouts just come at the worst times. So that's the season. That's why we're like basically 500.
Yeah. But lately, and I was doing some research ahead of this, they've been scoring a ton of runs in the last 5 games. They've scored 15 in the last five. So that's, and as someone who will always root for the Pirates, because I have very easy access to their farm team.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I will always root for the Pirates. That was fun to see. And then again, we've got Bryan Reynolds, who was just selected as an All Star. He just made history by surpassing Bobby Bonilla with the most home runs by a Pirates switch hitter with 115, which is
Nice.
amazing.
Yeah.
But then again, I wanted to go back to Paul Skenes. He just made the All Star game. He's a child. He's 22, and I know that's
Yeah.
not really an adult, but that's a child in my eyes.
You're telling me.
Yeah, he's been lights out. I actually saw his very last start in the minors. I went because Yasmani Grandal, it's embarrassing, I know, but Yasmani Grandal was rehabbing
Hmm.
and Paul Skenes was pitching, and then Alex Manoah from the Blue Jays was rehabbing.
Uh-huh.
So that was a
Yeah.
pretty exciting.
That may be one of the worst things that ever happened to the Pirates, because Paul Skeens thinking that Yasmani Grandal, who is probably the fourth, I don't know, fifth best catcher we have, is now his personal catcher, even though he's batting 180 and has a glove made of a pizza tin.
Yeah.
It's really bad. He's old, the slowest guy in the majors, can't hit, can't catch, can't throw, and now he's Paul Skeen's personal catcher because he cast a spell in Indianapolis or something. So
Yeah.
I don't love it. Uh, you know, um, uh, so there's the cursed part of everything. Um, but it's like when I say they scored 12 runs against the Brewers yesterday when Colin Ray fell apart. They scored, 14, I think, in the first game. They played four against the Mets, but they split that series with the
Hmm.
Mets, right? Before yesterday, which throws it off possibly. I don't know if it does. They were 15-15 in their last 30, 5-5 in their last 10, 5-5 in the 10 before that, 5-5 in the 10 before that. And at the start of that, they were like right in the thick of a wild card race where there were like 9 teams within a game and a half of the second spot or something, 2 games. And now after winning last night, they're now 3 games back of the third spot. And it just feels like there are so many teams in front of them that it's already like making me a little despondent. in in the same way that, like, in the third year, I think it was 2015, in the third year of their playoff run where they made the wild card game every year, they won 98 games, and they were like 3 games behind St. Louis the whole season. And so it just didn't feel like a good year.
Yeah.
you know and so always going, playing straight 500 ball where everyone's just a little better than you, even in a totally degraded wild card, is frustrating.
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
know
I understand that feeling as a White Sox fan. We
yeah
don't
I
want fun baseball at this point. It's not fun. It's just, why are
yeah
we
I
watching this?
yeah, I note that we are recording this. I don't know when this is going to go up, but we're recording this on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, which I guess is when a White Sox doubleheader is starting.
Yes.
And I assume you agreed to this because the idea of watching 2 full White Sox games in a single day is against the Hague Convention.
It's it's not my coverage day. Yes, that's correct. Though it is, the first game is an Eric Fetty, or no, well actually they might have moved him. I know Eric Fetty does pitch today, and he is
Mhm.
one that I enjoy watching at least.
Right.
But if I don't have to watch 8 hours of White Sox baseball, that's probably for the best. That's why I am going to Milwaukee instead today.
Right. Oh, that's good. Yeah. I'm not even going to get to the game because I have a work event. So I'm just going to be sort of surreptitiously looking at my phone and hoping it doesn't all go south. Because today is our fifth starter. So we
Hmm.
have, I think, or well, no, now that Falter's on the injured list, I guess it's our fourth starter. Martin Perez is going, and his last start was great, and we cocked it up. I think, with the bullpen throwing away a great performance from
Yeah.
him, but the fact that we scored 1 run while he was pitching, uh, but he's not terrible. Like, I mean, when you get down to your fourth starter, unless you have a $200 million budget, uh, then you don't expect your fourth starter to be all that great, and we have a $20 budget. Like they actually make Ben Charrington use his own money like a teacher in an underfunded school district buying pencils for the class.
I have a friend, my friend Colleen, has often referred to Pirates ownership as just a money laundering scheme. That's how they kind of treat it. And that seems, I mean, between the Pirates and the Reds, I feel like they just kind of share a budget.
I think of them. I think of them more as like the dollar store that sells like degraded but less expensive versions of what the real stores sell.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, the scissors only last for like 30 sheets of paper or whatever, but you get them very cheap. And then you see someone else has real scissors and you're like, wow, that is that how they're supposed to work? That's very cool. So you can just cut paper forever.
It's like Babs, not Barbie, and her head's got a little dent in it.
Right. That's right. That's
Oh
right.
man, poor Pirates.
Yeah.
So again, they're right behind the Brewers and Cardinals and the NL Central, and I will say
I don't know
the
about right
NL,
behind.
the NL and the American League Central obviously are both just kind of terrible in general. Like nothing good comes from them. Those
Yeah.
teams are not going to make the World Series except maybe the Guardians this year, maybe.
Right.
Is there any clawing back up in those standings, or are you just kind of going to be in the same spot in September?
I mean, I think we can claw into the wild card standings, and I think the Brewers are a very weird team.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how the Brewers piled up the wins they have, but we're like 8 games behind Milwaukee. I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like we're right behind Milwaukee. I don't think we're good enough to make up 8 games, even on a Milwaukee team that I'm not particularly impressed with. I think we can make up 4 games on the Cardinals, though the Cardinals have been playing a lot better recently. So, you see things like run differential, and you're like, well, the Pirates' run differential isn't terrible, and it's actually better than St. Louis's, I think. Unless I just sort of misread that. I'm just sort of going from memory. But I think St. Louis actually has a really abysmal run differential. So I could see us catching them. The problem is there are like 5 teams between us and St. Louis. Like there are so many teams hovering right around, right below 500 that it's possible because of our pitching staff that we could be the one to break out. I mean, that's a hell of like if Jared Jones comes back and actually starts throwing, a top 3 of Skenes, Keller, Jones is outstanding in that pool of, middling wild card teams. And if Bednar comes back and starts pitching normally, if Chapman stops nibbling when he's up 2 strikes, even though I hate rooting for him, it's also really intoxicating to see the number 103. It's the kind of thing where you're like, if you stop walking people, I'll throw my ethics out the window to care about you. But if you're not going to do that, then I'm going to be doubly mad that I have to watch you pitch, even though I find you a horrible person and you keep walking people. You can pick one, buddy.
Yeah.
And so, but it's the offensive side of the ball, which is just a total nightmare. Reynolds is the only outfielder who can hit, which is insane. That's like a high offense position. And everyone else it's like Sawinski, Connor Joe, who started hot but has been terrible for over a month. Michael A. Taylor, I was very happy with the signing. He's been awful. He can play defense, but he can't hit at all. Sawinski can't play defense or hit, except he's got like power. Like, how do you have one outfielder? Right? Like there was a rumor today that they might trade for Taylor Ward, who's a 30-year-old outfielder batting under 250, but with power, which is a huge improvement for us. If he's even like a remotely decent defender. And that's a weird place to be in. That Taylor Ward would be like, holy fucking shit, they did something, you know? Um, I don't know. Brian Hayes, big disappointment so far.
Yeah.
He just can't put it together for more than a couple of weeks at a time batting. And this year he's been like not I don't want to overstate it. He's been shaky in the field for Brian Hayes, but coming off of a gold glove, it was inconceivable that he would ever drop anything. And this year he's been having stuff bounce off his glove, and it's just like maybe my expectations are too high and I don't watch other people enough. But it's like frustrating when he's not having a good season at the plate either to watch him be less than perfect in the field. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, you're preaching to the choir with
Yeah.
disappointment, I promise.
Yeah. At least we have Oneil Cruz. He's like that is like, and he goes through rough streaks too, but they don't last forever. And when he's locked in, there's like nothing like it. He hits the ball so far and so hard, and he's young and has like this huge smile, or he's a giant, handsome, massive smile, just like a real kind of great energy for the team, and I don't know, always good. I love that. Like
Yeah.
I hate when you have a team, even a good team, that's kind of dominated by really tight-assed, unwritten rules white guys. And so, because then it's like no fun. It's like I feel like I'm rooting for the Republican convention. And when you have a team that's full of like young players who actually look like they like their jobs, because it's an enviable job, I'm like, okay, this is better. It's better when you feel like a good energy coming off of the team.
Yeah. So, as we near the trade deadline, is there a specific position or approach that you think the Pirates really should go after?
They need a real first baseman. Like Connor Joe is a converted outfielder who was a converted catcher. So his defense is like not particularly good at any position, and his bat has fallen off. Rowdy Tellez is surprisingly mobile for a guy as big as he is, but not good by the standards of first baseman in 2024. Like, he probably was a very good defenseman by the standards of the baseball I grew up with, where you would essentially plant a statue on first base and just say, go hit 30 homers, we don't give a shit
Yeah.
about anything else. Like, your glove has to close, that's all we care about. And that's not true anymore. Now it's like full of agile guys like Paul Goldschmidt or whatever. And so, at least Tellez started hitting. Like in June, he really started hitting after like 2 months of us wanting to kill him. He has really turned it around, and he's been one of the better hitters on the team. But he'd be better as a DH.
Yeah.
Right? It would be better if he's a DH and Connor Joe is a backup or rotation outfielder or whatever. So that's the big thing. We need a first baseman. We need Grandal to trip on the dugout steps or something so that we get more of, Bart and Delay. Not that they're all stars, but they're better than him. Or if Henry Davis just, stops passing through whatever fucking, field in between Indianapolis and Pittsburgh that strips him of any confidence, because he kills it when
Yeah.
he goes down to AAA. And you hate to call a dude who's he's also like 22, 23. And who wants to think of that guy, number one pick overall, as a quad A player already? But every time they call him up, he eats shit and looks overwhelmed, by the moment. And then he goes back down and he rakes. So we need him to come up and be like a major league hitter. Not even an all-star. We need him to be a major league hitter, and then we can stop worrying about the fact that he's a mediocre defensive catcher who we wasted the top pick on.
Oh, yeah.
Let's like we don't want those things to be true, but that's what the last 2 years has been, that every time he comes up, he fades in the light. And I'm not making any actual value judgment on him. Like it's mean when you talk, but I don't think of professional baseball players as people. I do for labor purposes, but when I'm actually talking about their impact on my team, I'm like completely divorced from all of that, and I can't think of like their emotions as being meaningful to me. um you have all of the benefits that I don't have. You also get my little gremlin ass, like dehumanizing you just a little. um and so I don't know, like that's the big thing. We need a first baseman, and we need a real outfield bat. And so Taylor Ward would be great in that sense, because we're not gonna trade for Vlad. Like
Yeah.
that's like a thing that isn't going to happen. Like no matter what crazy shit you get in your head, we're not signing a rental who already makes more than our highest paid player, and who we would under no circumstances be able to ever re-sign. Right. And he'd be mad. If he got traded to Pittsburgh, he would be so fucking mad at everyone in Toronto for doing that to him.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Like, so that's it. First baseman, outfield bat. And then obviously if you could pick up some, middle relief, is always good, because we have like a rotating cast of people who are bouncing up and down from the minors and performing not horribly, but not anyone you really want to count on.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, we're going to take a very quick break to pay some bills. Then we'll be back to talk about what the series might sadly look like. All right. Welcome back. So,
I didn't even have time to get a drink.
Please take a drink. Let me talk. um, so I'm looking at probable pitchers. They're not up just yet, but based on what I kind of saw as your rotation, it'll likely be Bailey Falter, Luis Ortiz, and Mitch Keller.
Wait, are they the first? Are they the first series out of the break, or no?
No, they're right before the break.
They're right before the break.
Yes.
Well, Falter is still on the IL, I think.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, Falter is still on the IL. So if that's, I think Martin Perez is in. Martin Perez is going today. Skenes is going tomorrow. And then, wait, let me look at it with you.
You're
because
fine.
And you can edit this out at the same time you're putting in the commercials. Okay, so we have Skenes tomorrow, and then we roll in to you, which means, well, Jones is still on the IL, Falter is still on the IL, so I guess that is going to mean Perez, Skenes. I would think it's Kel. Oh wait, did Keller go yesterday? No, right?
I'm pretty sure we'll see Keller in this series.
Yeah, I think you definitely see Keller. I think it ends up being God, it's really catch as catch can with everyone out. Um, like we're in a very weird everything is a bullpen game position.
Mhm.
Um, like I think that's what it is. I think you're going to get Keller, and then you're going to get two very weird, unpredictable starters. Ortiz will be one of them, or Luis Ortiz will be one of them, but the other one is going to be some manner of a bullpen game. And for a long time, Luis Ortiz was coming in like as we would have an opener in front of Ortiz, whether it was Carmen Machinsky or someone else. But then Ortiz would come in as an opener. But he actually performed well enough in the backup role that they just stopped using him as an opener. And they stopped using him with an opener, and he's kind of earned his way into the rotation. And so he's been actually a really solid replacement starter with the potential to be a lot more than that, because he also throws gas. Not 100, but he throws like 96, and he's been much better than anyone expected. So I guess that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a bullpen game, you're going to get Ortiz, and you're going to get Keller. So I mean, that's good for us from
Yeah.
the pitching perspective, especially since we're missing so many of our guys. I'd like to have two reliable starters going against, no offense, a not good lineup,
Oh,
as opposed to having to take our chances with, the bottom of our rotation where you can end up chasing.
so the Pirates will probably see a ton of our rookies. You will likely see Jonathan Cannon. You might get Garrett Crochet. That would probably be a really good matchup against Keller. But otherwise, you're just going to see you'll probably get a bullpen game too. Because we're, again, down, and especially with this doubleheader, it's going to kind of put a lot of people on the fritz, because now Drew Thorpe is a part of this doubleheader today as we're recording. So you will see one good pitcher, likely with Garrett Crochet, and then Jonathan Cannon, he's fine, but he's a baby, and he's probably not going to take to any kind of explosive bats if you are still actually batting very well, like you have been against the Brewers and the Mets.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it'll probably be a bullpen game. Who knows what's going to happen? He who shall not be named is not back. I'm hoping he never comes back at this point. Ideally, if he just breaks his arm and ends his season in Charlotte.
I'm not even sure, and you don't even have to keep it in the. I'm not even sure who the he who shall not be named is for the White Sox now.
He is another abuser.
Right, I figured, but I can't think of who it is.
Yeah, it's Mike Clevenger.
Oh yeah.
We would prefer he not.
Oh yeah.
Make it.
I didn't even know who he was signed to. Like I didn't know what team he was on. Yeah, and even before he was out as an abuser, he was a huge asshole.
Yeah. The Padres couldn't wait to get rid of him, and then he was passed up by 29 different teams twice. So the White Sox said, "Hey, here you go. Let's pay you for another year." And he's been out for most of the year, and I'm very thankful for that. It's saved me a lot of money because I donate every single time he's on the mound. I donate money. This last year it was to domestic violence organizations. This year it's towards like child abuse, because he's also a child abuser.
Great.
Really fun having him on this team of like mostly good people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we might have one good game, one good pitching game.
Okay. Well, I hope you have none.
That's fair. That's really fair.
I don't
Do that,
pretend to
though.
want to see competitive games when my team is, well, like, people are like, oh, the tension. I'm like, I don't want tension. I want to score 10 runs in the first and then half watch the rest of the game without ever needing to fully pay attention
That would be
until,
nice.
yeah. I especially am like that with football. Where I'm like, I do not need a tense final drive. I want a coronation drive.
See, I'm also a Bears fan, so that just
Uh-huh.
doesn't happen
Right.
with any of
Right.
my teams anymore.
Understood.
Okay, I've chose this life.
Understood. We got to play you with Tyler Bagent last year, um, where we spent half the podcast just making up alternate names for him.
That's good. So, on this Pirates team, who do you think would be the biggest threat right now to the White Sox team?
Oh, unambiguously Reynolds. I mean, like, he's just killing it. Like, he really is playing very, very well. He's got 17 home runs right now, which is like very high even for him. His, the last, I don't know, 6 weeks, he's been just hammering the ball, like really locked in. The only thing that hasn't been going well is he can get really pissed off when he gets a called strike three off the plate. And he gets sort of mad at that. But I think the team's whole philosophy takes too many pitches and doesn't protect the plate well enough. So they constantly get strike threes called on them that are probably not great calls, but also you should probably be trying to waste that pitch. That's a little league coach in me coming out. um, but he's the dangerous one. And Rowdy Tellez has been surprisingly good. I mean, you're not going to get Skenes. You're not going to get uh, that kind of smoke. So it's, Reynolds and Tellez. And maybe Palacios. Um, yeah. Sorry, I just got a work email. I had to look
You're
at
okay.
out of the corner of my eye.
So, what are the keys for the Pirates to take this series just completely away from the White Sox?
4 runs a game, I think. I think if they can get, and I don't mean their usual way of getting 4 runs a game, which is 12-0-0. I think they need to get four and then four, four, and then I think they'll be in pretty good shape. The bullpen game could get out of hand, but it usually doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, our problem is not, our we're giving up runs in bunches. I mean, everyone has a bad game or whatever, but mostly we've been keeping the runs really down on the other team and then just having those really frustrating games where you've got your bullpen game going. You've given up 1 run in 7 innings. And it's like, how do you waste that game? You didn't expect to be taught, you didn't expect to be in the game if your bullpen pitcher gives you a 1 run 7 inning game. You gotta score two. Like, sorry, man. Like, no pressure, but you can't waste those opportunities. Like, if Skenes loses some 2-1 games, that goes with the territory. Jacob DeGrom did that for 3 years in New
Yeah.
York, right? But when the guy who's not supposed to pitch that well does, everyone else has to sort of step up that day and match his energy. So, but that's it. If we can score 4 a game, I think we sweep you.
Our bullpen is notorious for just giving up runs anyway. Like, I used to see Michael Kopech and be like, yes, it's time. He's going to be dominant. And now I see him and I'm like, please God, no, anyone but him, which
Yeah.
is sad. And I mean, I was at a game just Monday night, and the White Sox were actually up for even a brief period, and then they had it tied, and then after 12 innings, the Twins walked it off. And I was like, well, that was not worth my time seeing this live in person.
Yeah.
I don't want to take the train back home. It's going to be midnight. Why did I stay for the stupid game? And it was all the bullpen.
Yeah. I mean, we had that happen in one of the games against the Mets where, you know, we scored, we were down, I think 1-0 late. We scored 2 in the bottom of the 8th to take the lead, and Chapman came in and got an out, and then he got 2 strikes on a guy, and then walked him, and then walked a guy, and then let up a single, and he loaded the bases and then gave up a bloop hit to Lindor, and we end up losing because they scored 2 on this 80-mile-an-hour exit velocity bloop that drops in front of the outfield. And you've got to be kidding me, you know? So very frustrating.
Yeah, I get it. So, with that and with the frustrating bullpen and all of that, do you have any fears heading into this series that the Pirates are going to do something really stupid?
Always. Always. I mean, I think we dropped 2 of 3 to Colorado. I feel like every time we're on the verge of something good happening, like it just levels off. I mean, the running joke in the Pirates group chat is every 2-game win streak is we're back, and every time we lose one, we're like, here comes the slide, right? We just
Right.
because it's like that's the season has been like this, and so this up and down, but ultimately going nowhere. I mean, that's the thing. This whole season has been a perfect sine wave. Okay, like, yeah, something stupid's gonna happen.
Yeah, I often joke, even just after one game, I'm like, all right, well, the World Series parade is back on.
Yeah.
Good, we're going to do this. And then, yeah, it's like, oh, cool. We just blew this game to the A's. Awesome. Good job,
Yeah.
team.
Yep.
So, moving away from our very sad teams, yours a little less sad. Good for you. Overall, what have you thought about this season? I mean, this is where you give me your hot takes or anything really about other teams.
Well, I will say I don't pay a ton of attention to other teams. Look, I do a little, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have hot takes about other teams except that I am enjoying the absolute panic in the Bronx. I love it, because they were cruising, they were super cocky, they were like, this is it. It's, like England fans, right? It's coming home. Finally our long, overfunded nightmare is over. And then it all completely fell apart. But like I already see like Ben Rice is going to be their emerging messiah, and it's going to work out, and I'm going to be fucking pissed all over again. you know, but that's it. My take right now is that I am enjoying the fact that that the Yankees are struggling. I can't even the Mets are still middling, but I
Mhm.
went to like 2 of the 3 games, maybe even all 3. I don't remember. I black out some of that stuff when they were in town, and the Pirates blew leads in every game. And so, I can't talk shit about the Mets right now because they made me too angry. But
Yeah.
it was nice to beat up, like we blew one of the games, we lost one of them legitimately, but it was nice to really roll them twice.
Well, now it's July, so the Mets are beatable again. The Mets are unstoppable during Pride Month. They become like this ultra gay Mets team. They remind me of the oh God, why can't I think of their name? It's the old SNL cartoon skit.
The ambiguously gay
Yes,
duo.
yes.
Wait,
They just like turn into like those characters in June, and then they had Grimace as their like Lord and
yes,
Savior. So it
Yeah.
was like gay McDonald's Mets, unstoppable. But once you hit July, they're like, oh, okay, well, they're back to doing Mets things. As someone who also has to watch that team
Yeah.
quite a bit, I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
to gay Mets
Yeah.
or back to bad Mets. LOL Mets, as I like to also call them.
Yeah. That's a very common refrain. I mean, that's the thing is I have, as a New Yorker, I have so many friends who are Mets fans. I mean, I went to high school with Mr. Met, and that sounds like a joke, but I mean it.
Yeah.
AJ Mass, who is now a fantasy baseball writer for ESPN, was Mr. Met for a long time, and we are friends. We went to high school together.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, but that's it. That's my. What is your hot take for the season?
Oh, man.
Stepping away from our teams.
So it's funny that you said something about how the Brewers, you're not really sure how they're racking up these wins. And I agree with that. I also have no idea how the Mariners are actually pulling off what they're doing this season because I think they're average at best. And I'm going to get hate from like my Mariners friends, but I don't understand it. And I just know that they're not going to make it to the postseason. They're not.
Isn't I mean Julio's having a down season, right?
Exactly. Like I feel like
Yeah, I
most
wouldn't
of
think
them
that they
are.
would be that good if Julio wasn't playing well.
No.
Um, but yeah, I can't talk shit about the Mariners too. Like one of my very good friends would get very mad at me.
I love
But
my
I don't pay attention to the American League really,
yeah,
except the AL East a little, but that's only because it's what I'm steeped in.
yeah. I think I hate the Astros. I hate them so much. And I know they started off really bad, but I just have this gut feeling that they're going to come back and completely boot the Astra or not the Astros, the Mariners out of any kind of contention. Like they're just going to come back and do what they normally do in the postseason. And the Mariners in this like great season they seem to be having for reasons I can't understand are just going to be like, oh, all right, well, bye. The Astros are back again, like always. So I don't understand why they're so high up. And that's coming from, I mean, I don't have any issues with the Mariners either. Their ballpark is gorgeous. They seem like a fun team. I love Julio, but they are not as good as they're being made out to be right now. So
Yep.
that's my really hot take.
Take that, Seattle.
It was lovely. It was a lovely city.
Yeah.
It was a lovely ballpark. I
Hmm.
was just there in May, but I don't understand their hype right now. Maybe that's mean.
No, you gotta be true to yourself. Let the feelings out. Like I'm waiting for St. Louis to collapse again. There's
Yeah,
no way. They're not real. They can't be real. And even if Milwaukee's not real, I don't think we can do anything about it. But St. Louis, I want to see suffer the way the Cubs are currently suffering.
yeah, I
You
love
know,
that.
like they looked like they were going to be doing okay, and then they fell apart too. And so I'm pretty happy about that.
Well, the Cards had that year with their like devil magic, and they still fell apart. Do you think that they have this like devil magic right now, and they're slowly gonna just
I
drop off?
I don't know. I think the devil magic is always in the small moments. I don't think
Mhm.
of it as like the season having devil magic. It's when I'm watching them and a ball hits off a pebble and you're like that can't possibly have happened. How did they score 4 runs in the ninth? I'd already turned off the game. You know, like that is what I see as Cardinals devil magic, or some, unexpected rookie like, what was it, Aledmus Diaz, who batted like 390 one season or something, and you're like, okay, that's Cardinals devil magic, or I don't know. I just good things shouldn't happen to them. That's my point.
No, that's perfectly fine. I mean, I am not a fan of the Cardinals in general, so I'm not going to dismiss that. That's a pretty good point. Yeah, well, that's what I've got for you. Again, please just remind people where they can find you.
Yeah, I mean, I am Ugarles on all socials. That's Ugarles. Though they're word-based socials. Look at this face. I'm not an Instagram guy, and so it's blue sky and the decaying mass that is Twitter, which I can't quit. And Venmo, hell, send me money. I don't care. And ALAB series, ALAB, all lawyers are bastards, alabseries.com. We are in the middle of a mini series on Alex Jones and the Sandy Hook litigation, which is both a little devastating and I think we did a very good job with
Yeah.
it. And it's also when we're not like talking about the very serious parts, there are a lot of, weirdos in that universe. And I think that stuff is very funny.
Yeah.
Like we take it seriously enough that we're not bullshitting you, but we're a bunch of funny guys, I think. And so that stuff is good.
Sometimes you have to have some humor, not, like devaluing everything that happened. But yeah, for those subjects you need to have some kind of humor every once in a while, because especially that whole thing got really, really dark really fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and the people like in the orbit, like even when you take them seriously, you have to laugh at them because they're crazy.
Yeah,
They're
he's
just like,
insane.
he's insane. His orbiters are insane, And then, the podcast, like beyond that, is less about specific cases, though we do some of that, though not necessarily the thing that everyone else is doing, and largely about legal culture and the perverse incentives of legal culture and the people that it creates.
It sounds interesting. I have a lot of law people in my family. My cousin is an attorney as well, so I'd have to pass that on to her if she's not already familiar.
Do
All
it.
right. Well, thank you so much. Obviously,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I will be cheering for the Pirates tonight against the Brewers. And again tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'm not going to that to see Paul Skenes.
Yeah.
But again, best of luck. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate
Right.
it.
Bye.
Bye.